There will come a moment in your life when everything you believed to be right collapses in front of you. You will hear a voice, not from the outside, but from within, that says, "You are 100% wrong." And in that moment, your ego will tremble. Your pride will try to defend itself. You will want to argue, justify, and protect the image you have built of yourself. But the voice of God doesn't come to humiliate you. It comes to awaken you. When God tells you that you are wrong, He is not condemning you. He is correcting your direction. Because sometimes the most dangerous path is not the one that looks dark, but the one that feels comfortable. You can be walking on a road paved with good intentions, yet heading straight into emptiness. Many people live their lives defending the wrong version of themselves. They cling to their habits, their anger, their blame, and they call it being real. But the truth is, being real is not holding on to your mistakes. It's having the courage to face them. So when God says, "You are 100% wrong," don't fight Him. Fall silent. Because silence is the beginning of transformation. In silence, you stop defending. In silence, you start listening. And what you listen to is not judgment, it's guidance. There comes a moment in every person's life when the universe stops you in your tracks, strips away all your excuses, all your noise, and whispers one sentence that cuts through your entire being. You are 100% wrong. When you first hear it, your mind refuses to accept it. You look for reasons, for justifications, for something to hold on to that proves the voice is mistaken. But deep inside, you already know it's true. You feel it not in your head, but in your chest. A quiet sinking, a heaviness that tells you the truth has arrived. This is not a punishment, not an attack, but an awakening. Yet the ego does not know how to stay calm when it is being dismantled. It resists, it screams, it throws up every wall it can build. It tries to make you believe that being wrong means being worthless. But that is the illusion. When God tells you that you are wrong, He is not trying to shame you. He is trying to bring you back home to what you lost. Humility, clarity, truth. In that moment, many people panic. They defend. They argue. They want to be seen as right even when they know they are not. They confuse being right with being valuable. They think if they admit their mistakes, they will lose respect, authority, or love. But what they don't see is that the moment you admit your wrongness, you are reborn. You become lighter. You stop living a lie. The truth does not destroy you, it destroys what is false within you. And that destruction is not something to fear. It is the most sacred act of creation. Every transformation begins with destruction. Every awakening begins with a collapse of the old. So when you hear God saying, "You are wrong," He is not taking something away from you. He is clearing space for something truer to emerge. The human mind has a strange addiction, the addiction to being right. We cling to our opinions, our interpretations, our judgments as if they define us. But being right is not a sign of growth. It is often a sign of stagnation. You can be right and still be blind. You can win every argument and still lose yourself. What matters is not whether you are right, but whether you are awake. The person who can admit, "I was wrong," has already stepped closer to awakening than the one who insists, "I have always been right." Because truth is not owned. It is discovered again and again. The moment you think you own it, you have lost it. When God tells you that you are wrong, it feels like a collapse inside. Suddenly, everything you built your pride upon begins to shake. The beliefs you defended, the choices you justified, the anger you held, the people you blamed, they all fall into silence. And that silence is uncomfortable. It feels empty, like the world has stopped. But that silence is sacred, because in that silence, you stop talking back to life. You start listening. You begin to hear the things you ignored. The soft voice of your own conscience, the quiet wisdom that was buried under your stubbornness, the lessons hidden in the pain you refused to face. In that silence, you realize that God was never against you. He was only trying to reach you. But he could not speak through the noise of your ego. Sometimes, the reason God has to tell you that you are wrong is because you stopped listening when he tried to guide you gently. You ignored the signs. You silenced your intuition. You convinced yourself that your plan was perfect, your path was certain. You mistook confidence for wisdom. You forgot that life is not about proving your correctness, but about discovering your alignment. And so, when your alignment drifts too far, God intervenes. He doesn't send thunder or fire, he sends awareness. He sends you a mirror. That mirror may come through failure, through loss, through heartbreak, through a conversation that pierces your pride. But behind that mirror is not cruelty. It is love. The love that refuses to let you destroy yourself by living a lie. The first reaction to being told you are wrong is always defense. We start explaining ourselves. To others, to God, even to ourselves, we say, "But I meant well." We say, "They started it." We say, "I had no choice." But these explanations are the mind's way of avoiding transformation. The truth doesn't need defense. It only needs acceptance. When you are truly listening to God, you don't answer back. You don't argue. You simply become still. And in that stillness, something remarkable happens. The resistance fades. The heart opens. The tears come. And you realize that being wrong does not make you small. It makes you real. Most people don't understand how liberating it is to admit, "I was wrong." They think it's a fall, but it's actually flight. The moment you stop pretending, you become free. You no longer have to keep up an image, no longer have to hide behind justification. You can breathe again. You can learn again. The person who cannot admit mistakes is like a tree that refuses to bend in the wind. It breaks. But the one who bows, who humbles, who listens, survives every storm. So when God says, "You are wrong," he is teaching you how to bend, not break. He is teaching you how to be humble enough to grow. Think about it. How many times have you been certain you were right, only to realize later that you misunderstood everything? How many times did you argue, defend, insist, only to see later that you were blinded by emotion, fear, or pride? God sees those moments not as failures but as lessons. Life is a school, and being wrong is part of the curriculum. Every mistake carries a message. Every misjudgment carries a mirror. Every wrong turn carries a correction. The tragedy is not in making mistakes. It's in refusing to see them as teachers. When you resist correction, you chain yourself to ignorance. But when you embrace it, you move closer to wisdom. The problem is that most people build their identity around being right. The ego says, "If I admit I'm wrong, I lose." But the soul says, "If I admit I'm wrong, I evolve." The ego wants victory, the soul wants truth, and God only speaks to the soul. That's why his message hurts the ego, because it cannot understand the language of truth. The ego wants comfort, but truth brings clarity, and clarity is not always comfortable. Yet comfort has never produced growth. It has only produced repetition. Growth happens when you are uncomfortable, when the truth exposes what you tried to hide, when your illusions burn and you are forced to rebuild on solid ground. Sometimes, the reason God tells you that you are wrong is because you've been praying for something you're not ready to receive. You ask for peace but hold on to anger. You ask for direction but refuse to change your path. You ask for strength but avoid struggle. God doesn't withhold blessings out of cruelty. He withholds them out of mercy. Because receiving without readiness is a curse, not a gift. So when he tells you, "You are wrong," he is preparing you. He is saying, "Before I give you what you asked for, you must become who can hold it." Being wrong is not rejection, it's refinement. There is also a sacred pain that comes with realizing you were wrong in how you treated people. Sometimes you hurt someone, not because you wanted to, but because you couldn't see clearly. You acted out of pride, fear, insecurity, or impatience. And when the truth hits you, the shame burns. That burn is not meant to destroy you, it's meant to purify you. God uses the fire of realization to cleanse the heart. If you let it, that fire will not leave you empty. It will leave you humble, compassionate, aware. It will remind you that every person you meet is fighting a battle you don't see. That awareness becomes the soil for forgiveness, both towards others and towards yourself. Being wrong is one of the greatest gifts God can give you. Because it means you are still learning, still alive, still capable of transformation. The only people who cannot be corrected are the ones who have closed themselves off completely. But if you can still feel that sting when truth hits you, it means your heart is still responsive. It means God's voice can still reach you. That is grace. That is proof that you have not been abandoned. You are being shaped. And the shaping process is not gentle, because diamonds are not made through comfort. They are made through pressure. In the monastery, the master would often test the students, not by asking if they were right, but by observing how they reacted when told they were wrong. The wise student would bow, reflect, and listen. The proud student would argue. The difference between the two is not intelligence, but humility. Wisdom begins where pride ends. And so, when life corrects you, do not argue. Bow. The bow is not submission to weakness. It is alignment with reality. The one who bows is the one who grows. To be told that you are 100% wrong is not a curse. It's an opportunity to become 100% real. It's an invitation to step out of illusion. It's the universe saying, "You've been walking in circles. Let me show you the straight path again." The longer you resist, the longer you stay lost. But the moment you surrender, everything starts to make sense. You start seeing how your wrong turns taught you patience, how your mistakes sharpened your awareness, how your pain shaped your compassion. And suddenly, what felt like humiliation becomes liberation. You realize that being wrong was never the end. It was the beginning of seeing clearly. The mind will always tell you, don't admit it, don't bow, don't lose face. But the soul whispers, let go, because truth is worth more than pride. Every time you choose truth over pride, you evolve. Every time you choose awareness over comfort, you expand. And every time you choose humility over defense, you move one step closer to the peace that cannot be shaken. Because peace does not come from being right, it comes from being real. When you are aligned with truth, even your mistakes become part of your purpose. So when God says to you, you are 100% wrong, breathe. Do not run, do not defend, do not collapse, just breathe. That voice is not here to destroy you, it is here to save you. It is calling you back to your higher self. The part of you that doesn't need to pretend, doesn't need to prove, doesn't need to control. The part of you that knows how to trust, how to surrender, how to listen. That is where transformation begins. That is where wisdom lives. If you can learn to welcome correction, you will never fear being wrong again. Because you will see that being wrong is simply being redirected. You will understand that every time God corrects you, He is not moving you away from your destiny, but closer to it. The road to truth is not straight. It is filled with detours, with mistakes, with moments where you must stop, listen, and start again. Each time you admit your wrongness, the map becomes clearer. And one day you will look back and smile, because you will see that even your wrong turns were part of the right journey. So do not be afraid of those words. Do not shrink when you hear them. When God says, you are 100% wrong, smile through the discomfort. Bow through the shame. Be still in the storm. Because the one who can be corrected is the one who can be perfected. The one who listens is the one who learns. And the one who admits he was wrong is the one who finally becomes right. Not in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of truth itself. When God tells you that you are wrong, He does not send thunder from the sky or strike you down with punishment. He simply holds up a mirror, And this mirror is not made of glass. It is made of truth. It is not meant to show you your reflection as the world sees it, but as heaven sees it. It is the mirror of your soul. The moment you look into it, you stop seeing the version of yourself you created and start seeing the one you have become. And for most people, that first glance is painful, because the image staring back at you is not what you hoped for. You see the anger that you've carried for years and called strength. You see the fear you disguised as caution. You see the pride that you mistook for confidence, and the resentment that you baptized as righteousness. You see the layers of your own pretending. And for the first time, you realize how far you've drifted from what is real. God's mirror is not there to shame you. It is there to free you. Because you cannot change what you refuse to see. The reflection is not an accusation, it is an invitation. An invitation to return to the version of yourself that you lost while trying to be accepted, to be respected, to be seen as perfect. When you stand before that divine mirror, you face not your failures, but your lessons. You face not your ugliness, but your unfinished beauty. The pain you feel is not punishment, it is purification. It is the cleansing that happens when truth and illusion collide. Many people avoid this mirror all their lives. They are terrified of self-awareness. They keep themselves busy, distracted, constantly talking, constantly proving something. Because to look inside means to stop running. And stopping feels like death to the ego. But you cannot meet God while you are running. You meet Him when you are still. The mirror only works when you stop long enough to see what it shows you. When you finally look, it is not a gentle image. It is raw, unfiltered, uncompromising. It shows you the moments you lied when you should have spoken truth. The times you stayed silent when you should have acted. The nights you chose comfort over courage. It shows you not because God wants to humiliate you, but because He wants you to heal. There is a certain honesty that comes when the mirror of God is in front of you. You cannot hide behind your reputation. You cannot hide behind what people think of you. You cannot hide behind excuses. The reflection looks past your job title, past your possessions, past the mask you wear every day. It looks straight into your intentions. It sees why you did what you did. It sees the pain behind your pride, the insecurity behind your arrogance, the fear behind your control. And that vision, though painful, is sacred because it is real. It is God showing you the truth about yourself, not to destroy your image, but to bring you back to authenticity. People often ask why awareness hurts. It hurts because truth burns away illusion, and everything that burns resists. But that resistance is where transformation begins. You cannot heal a wound you will not touch. You cannot clean a mirror you refuse to acknowledge is dirty. And you cannot receive clarity while living in denial. So when God holds up the mirror and you see your reflection trembling with flaws, you have two choices. You can run from it, or you can bow before it. One path keeps you blind, the other leads to awakening. To bow before that mirror is an act of courage, because it means you are willing to see what needs to die in you so that something purer can be born. It means you are ready to face yourself not as you wish to be, but as you truly are. And that is the beginning of wisdom. When you finally accept, yes, this is me, proud, impatient, wounded, reactive, but still willing to learn, the light begins to enter. God cannot heal the mask. He can only heal the truth underneath it. That is why He shows you the mirror, so that you can stop fixing your image and start transforming your essence. When you see your reflection clearly, you begin to understand others more deeply as well, because the same flaws you saw in yourself are the ones that make you human. You start realizing that the people you judged were mirrors too. Mirrors, reflecting the parts of yourself you didn't want to see. The anger that annoyed you in them was the anger you denied in yourself. The selfishness you condemned in others was the selfishness you justified in your own life. Life keeps bringing people to you not to irritate you, but to illuminate you. Every person who crosses your path is holding up a piece of the divine mirror, showing you something you need to notice within. The wise use these reflections to grow, the proud reject them and repeat their mistakes. When God holds up his mirror, he does not show you what you have lost. He shows you what you have become. He reminds you that you were created with purity, with compassion, with purpose. But as you walked through the world, you picked up masks. One for approval, one for protection, one for pride. Each mask promised safety, but took you further away from yourself. The divine mirror gently strips them away, layer by layer, until what is left is your naked soul, unprotected, unpretending, unpolished, but utterly true. And that raw truth, as painful as it seems, is the most beautiful version of you, because that is the version God recognizes. Sometimes, the reflection you see is not only about what you did, but about what you refused to do. The opportunities you ignored because of fear, the love you withheld because of ego, the forgiveness you denied because of pain. The mirror doesn't just show your actions, it shows your omissions. It reveals the wasted potential, the delayed obedience, the unlived truth. It whispers, "This is what you could have been if you had listened earlier." And though those words sting, they are also filled with mercy. Because if you can see it now, you can still change it. Awareness always comes with another chance. God never shows you something just to leave you hopeless. He shows it because redemption is still possible. What makes this mirror divine is that it does not lie. The world's mirrors lie every day. They show you filtered versions of yourself, enhanced, manipulated, adjusted to look acceptable. You can hide behind those mirrors for years. But when God's mirror stands before you, there are no filters, no shadows to hide in. It reflects light so pure that every false layer becomes visible. And that can be terrifying. But if you have the courage to stand in that light, you begin to see not just your flaws,